In this lesson, we are gonna do some cute stamping and also some watercolor fun. Now, it's great for any card, but I find that a fun little wash of color and a little bit of stamping can go a long way to make a really great Mother's Day card. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is work on our background. I have a 4.5 inch by 3 3/4 inch piece of watercolor paper. The watercolor paper is going to be very important for the start of this because to really get the effects that we want, we're going to need to have that style of paper. And what I'm going to do to start off with, I have this Lawn Fawn stamp set here. I'm gonna pick a few stamps. And what I like to do is, of course, make sure my stamps are clean so that they do not mark up my paper, but I like to just place them where I envision wanting them. And I'm leaving a bit of a space right here because I am going to want to put an image there. So I'm going to just pick out what I like, what sentiment I like, place them like so, and then just take my stamp block and pick them up. Now, if when I pick them up, they wiggle a little bit or you're not quite happy with it, you can always just adjust them there on the block, but you'll know that what you have is going to work. I'm going to be stamping with black archival ink, and I'm going to use black ink because I really want this to stand out. We're going to have some pastels with the watercolor, and that's really going to give us a nice contrast. And just stamp it down. And then we're going to stamp with some clear embossing ink. And we're going to do clear because that is going to make our little heart accents really stand out. I'm going to start with this little heart from the same set, and I am going to ink it up, and wherever I stamp it, it's going to be really fun. I love clear embossing powder because working with it and doing this, it just makes for such magic when you're going to be watercoloring. So I did a few with the larger heart, and then I'm going to take the tiny heart and do a few as well. And I'm keeping these clusters really close to my sentiment because I'm not going to want to watercolor all over. And these are really only going to show up where I already have color down. The next step is to get out the clear embossing powder and sprinkle it on your card. And then you're going to want to shake off the excess. Now I am going to shake it off into this folded piece of cardstock. You do just want to keep it kind of contained so that you don't accidentally have it fly everywhere. Once you are happy with your hearts or whatever pattern you might have, you're going to get out your heat tool and heat set. And you'll know that it is ready when everything is shiny and raised. Now we are ready for the really fun part because now we're going to play with watercolors. And I have this set of Primo watercolors here. Now a couple minutes ago I just quickly spritzed them with some water. I recommend this because what that will do is it will really help prep them so that when you go to come in here and pick up color, they will be all primed and ready. Now what we're going to do is I'm using a water brush, and I'm going to give it a squeeze as I place it on my background so that plenty of water comes flooding out. And what you'll already notice is how there is a clear resist where my little hearts are. And that is just so much fun to me because it's a little bit of watercolor magic here. And then I can come back in for a different color. And again, I'm just giving it a gentle squeeze so that there's plenty of water flowing. Now, if what you would like is to have a harder edge on your watercolor, just leave it here and let it dry. If, however, you want a little softer edge, take a water bottle and give it a very light mist. And what you will see is that those little mists of water will help stretch the color out. Now, if there's more color than you like or you want to try a little something different, take a little paper towel, give it a dab, and it will lighten significantly. You can use a heat tool to dry this off if you're in a hurry. Otherwise, you can just let it dry. And likewise, if you would like to bring a little more color in, you can do so. Just add another layer. and we can repeat. My only caution to you will be don't do too much color all at once. do a little bit of color and allow it to dry just so that you don't wear out the paper, so that the paper does not have issues. Now, while we let that set aside and dry, let's move on to our fox. So this will be very easy. What we're going to do is take our fox stamp, and again with black archival ink, and we're going to stamp it onto plain white cardstock. You could use watercolor paper if you would prefer, but either way will work. And then we are going to take the coordinating die. Now this is one of my favorite things to do because it's so easy to get a really nice cut image, but it's also my favorite because then I don't have to cut it out by hand. I can just have a nice image all ready to go. And now I'm just taking a little bit of washi tape. I find that the washi tape, and I do touch it with my fingers a little bit just to kind of make sure it's not extra sticky. Once I have that in place, I will just set this across just to pin it down. And then what we'll need to do is get out our die cut machine and cut this out. So to do that, I'm just gonna make my die cut sandwich and set all of the plates in here. I love how easy this is to do, and then just crank it on through. And you could do multiple at the same time if you have multiple images that you would like. For this one though, we just want the one. And now just gently lift, I say gently just to make sure that you don't tear your paper. Usually the washi you won't have any problems, but it never hurts to be just a little bit careful on that. And there you can see our fox friend. Now to get nice coloring on our foxes, it's only gonna take 2 colors. The first thing I'm going to do is take a little brown, and I'm putting it here on my craft mat just so that I've got some nice fluid color running there, but it's not super strong. I'm also going to take a little bit of orange, and I'm doing the same thing because as you can already see, my water brush with a little bit of brown and a little orange is making me a new color, kind of a rusty color, perfect for our little fox friend. And whatever areas I'd like to color, I'm just going to come in here and lightly wash over with that orange and brown mixture. And what I love about doing this is I can come in here and add color if I'd like to add a little more. If I want to make a little more variation, maybe do some shading, absolutely can do that, not a problem. All I'm going to do is once I've got the area with a bit of a base coat, come back in here and take a little more. And if you're wondering why I don't go straight from the watercolor, that would just be because I'm trying to have it be really, really light and very watered down. I don't want this to have a really strong color. I want this stamped image to really show up well, and I don't want too much on there. So if we want a few darker spots, we come in with the darker brown. If you wanted a few lighter spots, you could dab back into the straight orange and get that. Really, we can just sit here and play until we're happy with that image. We're going to want to clean off our mat so that we don't mess up our card because we are almost done, if you can believe it. Now what we're going to do is decide where exactly we'd like this. As you can see, my fox has the perfect little spot there. I'm also going to put a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of my fox just to help it really stand out. Now the last thing I'm going to do before I adhere this to my card is I'm going to take some Heidi Swapp Gold Mist. I'm going to give it a shake, but I'm not going to squirt it because I just want a few little droplets. I'm going to pull the top out and just flick a few drops like so. I love this effect because it really lets me control and get the kind of splatter that I prefer. Now, once we've adhered our fox onto here, we're pretty much done. If there's anything else that we wanted to add, or for example, if we want a little bit of contrast and say, I'll use the gray ink, we could rub it along. If we'd like to edge, we can use an ink pad and edge. I love doing this because it really does add a lot of contrast on your cards. Okay, like so. There you can see we are ready to adhere it, and we have a card just perfect, ready to give away.